Hey guys, massive beats here, coming at you with an analog drum machine, a quick review on the anatomy of a Jomox Xbase 09, which originally was sort of meant to be a clone of the Roland 909. They even said they used the same or very similar circuit board. To me, I like to use it as a standalone machine and not focus so much how closely it sounds to the original. And I treat it as such, independent Xbase 09. By now, vintage by itself. Came out in '97. So let's start with the kick. Very thumpy kick. So here I have tune, pitch, decay, harmonics, pulse, noise, attack, and EQ. Let me just play with the attack a little bit. See how that changes it? That's how quickly the sound comes out. And that's the EQ, which is a filter. I can put in a massive thump. And that's the pulse. Sort of how hard the sound comes out, the steepness of the curve, the pulse wave. Hard to explain, but you'll hear it in a second here. Check this out. You can make in-your-face sounds between that and attack. You can go from very soft to very, very upfront kick drums. Now, here's the decay. That's where it gets interesting. From a very dry sound, if you open up the decay, that's how long the tone rings out. And that's basically all, same across all analog devices. And that's harmonics. And Jomox says there's a diode limiter on there with the harmonics. Overtones to me. And very important, tune and pitch. It depends. That allows you to set, how quickly the tone comes in, rises to its own pitch, and of course the absolute pitch. So there's a sweeping effect from how quickly the oscillator gets to its destination pitch. I like shaping my own kick drums. That's why I bought this thing in the first place. And let's move over to the snare. That's the decay. Very lazy snare. So we can shorten that decay, make it tight. Then we have the tune, the detune. And then we have X snap. Feel that? And very analog. Find that very useful. And all these parameters are midi. You can automate them via midi. And in the sequencer that's here. So that's noise tune. So very flexible. You can literally craft, thousands of different sounds with that. Now let's move over to the sample sounds, which are 6-bit samples, hi-hats, close and open. But there's also other sounds. There's claps. There's a clap, there's a noise, and a ride and a crash. And although you can only play 3 different sounds at the same time, what you can do is you can, per each step, you can select different sounds. So you have, kick, snare, and then you have the hi-hat section that can be swapped out. 6-bit samples again, lo-fi. And the loudness volume between the two, the relationship is but a balance switch, balance potentiometer. Here you go. Here's the tune, very heavy and lazy. So what you hear is obviously mono, because I have a mono output, which outputs everything together. So this mix, the mix of bass drum, snare drum, and hi-hat. But it also has individual outputs where the snare, hi-hats, and claps and so forth, and then the bass drum go out independently. So whenever you plug in, let's say we were to plug in a cable into the snare drum output, it would be removed from the mix, the total mix. So that's kind of cool if you don't want to use all three outputs, all three sounds. You just want to use one, maybe just the kick drum. The moment you use the kick drum, you wire the kick drum out. The kick drum is not part of the main mix. That's kind of cool, and the rest is then in the main mix. So these are the sounds, and then so here you have master volume. These are the individual volumes again: bass drum, snare drum, and hi-hat. This is accent. So when you program a beat, this is a 16-step sequencer. You can accent certain notes, and this gives you, for example, the tempo. So here the tempo would be, 95, 96, so forth. But it can also accept tempo from an outside source. So here, if we go shift, clock select, there would be internal clock, and then MIDI clock. So pretty cool. Hit enter, and there's a lot of parameters that you can change. You can change the length of the pattern, so you can make it like in triplets. Then it will be 12 long instead of 16 long. You can put a shuffle. You can move certain events back and forth. You can program your own kits. And obviously you want to retain that. I like that kick. I like it. We can turn it up a little bit more. Master volume here. Go all the way up. Turn it up. Sounds pretty good. Sounds pretty good to me. Okay, so what else do we have? We have hi-hat sample select, like I mentioned it. I mentioned that before. So we've got hi-hat, the clap, the crash, and the ride. There should be a noise sample in there somewhere as well. Okay. What if we were to change that to a clap? Here's a clap, look at that. Imagine that with some delay on it. Let's change it to crash. All right. So that's meant to be an open hi-hat sound. I bumped into the camera, my bad. It's a ride. 6-bit ride. Sounds funny, 6-bit ride. Yeah, kind of like that. Let's do something with that. So let's start a pattern. In order to start a pattern, you hit right, and let's see, nothing is. Well, we're gonna reset this all. So right, so we can see here that the kick drum is already set here. Snare drum, I'm gonna erase that. Oh wow, there's a lot of hi-hats, or closed hi-hats, and then the open, no accents. So let's start with the kick drum. Set it on, keep it on the 1, 2, 3, and 4. So let's start that. Yeah, right. Add a snare on 13, which is the 4. Bring it up a tiny hair louder. Here we go. Dial it in, just so it feels right. Put one in on step 16. And by the way, you could change that with accents, how loud that would be. Add a little hi-hat. This is just to show you how it works. Very simple pattern. I love physical buttons and lights and LEDs. blinking. I don't like doing these things on smartphones. It's just not the same. It doesn't have the oomph either. So this is pretty static in terms of pattern. Speed it up a little bit, give it a bit more energy. Add another kick. Pulse in that case. It's actually not the filter, it's the pulse. And because it's so much in your face, I'll bring it down a bit. The hi-hat. And let's bring a snare drum onto 2. Pulling it a bit together, and let's shorten that a bit. Yeah, tighter. Now this is all without effects, keep in mind. Mute to kick, DJ style. By the way, it plays very well with Tractor, Machine, any MIDI compatible software for live jamming. It's great. Just take out, take a Tractor track, take out the bass drum and bring in an analog bass drum. Let me stop the music for a second. So what's really cool is with all these parameters that you see, they are being sent through MIDI as well, but they can also be recorded into the sequencer as motions. And that means that any sound changes, sweeping movements, decay changes and so forth, they can become very dynamic and you can integrate it in the pattern. All right, let's tweak it a little bit more. Anyway, so this was certainly not a complete review of the Jomox Xbase 09, but I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it gets you in the mood to grab one of these analog drum boxes, whether it's an 808, a 909, an Xbase, an Airbase, an 888, or 999 by Jomox, and to play with these and really enjoy the natural feeling of analog sound. After all, it's electrons, it's current, it's electricity that flows through these machines, and it's not just bits and bytes. Anyways, thanks for watching, and hope you like the channel. Subscribe and like. See you out there. Massive Beats out.